and it is so rare. Only 5 or 6 times in the history of the NFL has a team repeated. It's been since the early 2000s with the Pats back in 03-04. It's been a while. Chiefs win this game. They will have accomplished that. I feel like there's some fairly obvious reasons why that's the case, but let's get into this a little bit here. Why is it historically, that's 54 years of data, 54 years of Super Bowls, Teak, where we can lean on and say, hey, it's a very rare occurrence. Why? Why is that the case?
So I think the biggest thing, and it's hard for both teams to go. So the team that wins, but also so the AFC champion and the NFC champion. It's really hard for both of them to get back to this game, unless you're the New England Patriots. So we can exclude them because they're consistently in this game. They were consistently in this game with Tom Brady, and they had the last repeat back in 2003, 2004. But if the jumping off point, BT, is because as soon as you are Super Bowl champion or the Super Bowl runner-up, you're never getting taken for granted. Like the next season, you're not going to have a game where a team's like, we're just playing the Chiefs. It's never going to be that way.
But why aren't NBA champions taken for granted? What's the difference? Still a champion.
Well, I think in the NBA, and this is the importance of the regular season. And this is what we're focusing on, the contrast in the regular season for the NFL versus the regular season really in all the other sports, whether it's hockey, baseball, or basketball. Like, we're going to give it our all against the defending, NBA champion. But, they run out to a 20-point lead. It is what it is. We're chilling. We got to play them again in 2 weeks anyway. And so it's like there's not an urgency in these others. In football, like every game wins. It matters. Every single game matters. And if you have a shot, and it probably, unless you're in the division, is your only shot to beat the defending Super Bowl champion, you're putting all your effort into it, even if it's just emotionally and psychologically. And so I think because of the nature of the regular seasons, it gets really hard to repeat in the NFL because even if your team is good and you make it to the postseason, the circumstances might be different. Like, we got to play a wild card game this year as opposed to having the first round and home field throughout like we did last year. Like, it's easy to change those circumstances in football, and it's harder in basketball and baseball and some of the other sports, I think.
Well, I mean, it stretches back. Again, 54 years of data tells us that it's very hard to do. Yeah. It's only happened one time in the 60s. It happened 3 times in the 70s. Miami did it early 70s back-to-back. The Steelers did it twice in that decade. Once in the 80s, a couple of times in the 90s, the Niners and Dallas. And, of course, most recently, as we said a few times, the Pats back in 03-04. Now, everything you said is spot on. I want to throw a different element to it. And the obvious stuff, number one, just the brutality of the sport. I mean, one twisted knee, one ruptured whatever.
To the wrong person.
Yeah, to the wrong person for sure. It changes the entire complexion of the season, and the pursuit of that championship, number one. The salary cap has thrown in a very different wrinkle. We see it every year. Guys win a Super Bowl. They're free agents. They're overvalued in the marketplace. They get maybe 10, 12, 15% more than they should from another team because they think, I've got a Super Bowl champion. And you do, but probably not worth what you're paying him. But you still lose a valuable contributor, probably somebody that you drafted and developed and fit nicely with your team. But the thing to me that is really the answer here, those things are all true, undeniable what we just said, both you and I. But I really think that when you look at the NBA, and I remember the fight, I've referenced this because I was living in Vegas, and I bet this game, and I took the 76ers to beat the Lakers in Game 1 of the 2001 NBA Finals. It was in L.A., Sixers, Mutombo, of course, Allen Iverson, McKee, Eric Snow, etc. And for some reason, I liked the points. Maybe they were getting 10, whatever it was. I picked them straight up. They won. I had a good night. They didn't lose. They didn't win again. They lost 4 straight. Boom. They got backhanded. So my point is that after a loss, which was kind of tough to explain, the Lakers had a ton of real estate to get back to their footing and allow talent to rise to the surface.
So it's a one-off.
It's a one-off.
In the NFL, it's a one-off. That's it.
Correct. Same thing with baseball. Same thing with hockey. You have a goalie who's out of his mind in the first game. He's doing cartwheels. He bangs back 43 shots. He wins 1-0. The inferior team wins. And then eventually, not always, because a hot goaltender can obviously kind of put you through deep, as we've seen historically. It's happened a few times. But for the most part, the better team's going to win. The NFL, one bad call, one dropped pass, one unsportsmanlike penalty, one sloppy game condition, weather-wise, whatever it might be, you lose, you're done.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I think it's really hard to
I think you're right. I think that's really it, BT, because the better team doesn't always win in the NFL. I mean, usually in the regular season, we'll see the better team pull through, especially when there's a big gap. Like say the Kansas City Chiefs playing, I don't know, whoever.
Jaguars,
the Jaguars or somebody like that. I mean, they have to really play horrible to lose. They're going to find a way to win. But when you look at this Chiefs team and you try to figure out, I mean, the likelihood of repeat, I think it's high for them. Now,
I do too. They're favored.
Look, I'm already on the record. I want the Bucs to win. I'm biased. I'm not going to even pretend to be unbiased because of my relationship with Tampa, Bruce Arians, my brother, everything else that goes on down there. But the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They keep almost everything intact, and I think the biggest thing is they're healthy. Mostly healthy. They did have a couple players go on the COVID list today, not because they did anything.
Contact tracing.
They tested negative, but they're contact traced to a barber, which I get because, you got to look tight. You got to look cool.
Hey, man, it's the Super Bowl.
Dude, you got to look straight headed to the Super Bowl.
They might actually get introduced.
That's right. That's exactly right.
They got to look good.
You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, honey, can you touch up, my fade a little bit? No, that's not working today.
I got to look right. It's a Super Bowl.
Bring the barber in.
Yep.
But the barber tested positive for coronavirus, so there's a couple of guys are contact traced.
And for the record, if they test negatively for 5 straight days, they can play. Just so everybody's aware.
Again, and one is the starting center. So I mean,
yes.
it probably is not going to be an issue, but it's just something to keep an eye on, so to speak. But my point to saying that story is the Chiefs. They're mostly intact. Right, there's no major injuries. It's they got some nicks and bruises and stuff here. Le'Veon Bell, I know, is banged up a little bit, but for the most part, it feels like the exact same team that started in the Super Bowl last year. And when you have a quarterback like Pat Mahomes, who even through adversity he never panics, it creates the template for a repeat for this team, because a lot of teams that do get close to getting back and don't make it in the NFL, it's because they suffered an injury. Like they lost a left tackle, they lost a star wide receiver or a rush end or whatever it may be. The Chiefs don't have that this year, and so it boosts their chances to be the first team in a decade and a half now to repeat.
Well, Teke, not only are they healthy, you can make the case that they're actually healthier than they've ever been, because even Sammy Watkins is on the mend. He hasn't played in, I think it's 6 weeks. Late December with the calf. But right now, what does he give you? Does he give you 12, 15 snaps? I don't know, but at least it's an option. And, he's an established pro who's, probably not worthy, definitely not worthy of the 4th overall pick, but still a good player that you've got to account for. So, I look at this, and again, you don't want to start putting the cart before the horse. To win 3, you got to win 2. And if Tom Brady shows up and it's Tom Brady, then this conversation is basically a moot point. Not that it changes the circumstances and the degree of difficulty to win back-to-back, but let's be irresponsible for a moment and like wildly irresponsible. Never. We're gonna push this thing forward. Here we are next year. All right. Okay. Now, next year, at that point, we're going to have to go back to the studio. Well, we'll be at Radio Row next year. But next year, we're doing the show, and the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl. Just say. And, and they find a way to win it. And suddenly, while he's only in his mid-20s, what Romo said about the whole dynamic with Mahomes and Brady, even without winning next year, but he has to kind of win this year. I'm with Tony on that. It seems incredibly hyperbolic, maybe a little bit overly dramatic, and maybe even a little irresponsible. But it's really not, because if you look at where his stats are trending, what he's done, and I gave you the numbers, they just dwarf what Brady did at the age of 25. It wasn't even close, like 80 more touchdowns. It's crazy. Like the quarterback rating, I think it was like 108 for Mahomes to, I got it somewhere on my phone, to like 85 for Brady, very pedestrian. If he wins Sunday, and now all of a sudden he's got 2 chips, got an MVP, he's going to get another one or 2, and all these numbers, he's going to obliterate the record book. Teke, he's on the path to Goatville.
No,
he really is.
Of course he is.
He is.
And because statistically, he'll have the edge, because Tom Brady didn't start like this. Tom Brady's early part of his career, he was good.
I'll find it for you while you're setting that up. I got you.
But he didn't have, almost 5,000 yard seasons and, a touchdown interception ratio like 20-1, because that's basically what Pat Mahomes feels like he throws, even though I don't think he threw 40 touchdowns, but he didn't throw a ton of interceptions until the end of the season. But historically, Patrick Mahomes is trending on this unreal trajectory from a statistical standpoint. And if you add the winning on top of that, and by the way, what is his regular season record right now? How many games has he lost? 3? 4, maybe? I mean
14 wins, 15 wins.
He didn't really play the last game this year, so
did he win the only game he played? He did, right? As a rookie?
As a rookie, I
thought he won that game.
Maybe he did.
When he played for Alex.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But he won.
But his win-loss ratio is it's stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
No, it really is.
And that's not going to change anytime soon, especially because they have talent. Their talent, their skill positions are wrapped up for the most part, and that's really Kelsey and Tyreek Hill for the next couple of years. We know that Pat Mahomes is there for the rest of his life. It seems like, even though after 10 years that contract is done, he's only going to be 34 years old.
He's going to get 7 more after that.
It's unreal. So, I got to tell you, if you're a Chiefs fan, you are through the roof excited, not only about right now, but the future, because, and it's rare. How many teams can say that? I'm thrilled for right now, but you know what? I'm going to feel the same way. Yeah, they did beat the Broncos, by the way, 27-24 in week 17. I'm going to be I'm going to feel the same way. 4 years from now.
I know what you mean, especially in football.
That's right.
As we've documented, it's hard.
Which is unreal for a team to think about.
Here's the numbers: 44-9 as a starter by the age of 25. 44-9 as a starter. Mahomes. Brady was 23-10. Touchdowns 131-47. 16,000 yards plus. I'm just for the sake of time. 16,000 yards to 7,100 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, plus 9,000.
Wow.
The quarterback rating was 108-85. All right. MVPs, Brady had none. Mahomes has the one. Both had a Super Bowl win. Both won a Super Bowl MVP by the age of 25. So if you tack on number 2 and you do it against Brady head-to-head in a year, it's not like, that final year with Peyton Manning, who threw 12 touchdowns and 17 picks and was clearly diminished.
Yep.
Tom Brady threw 40 touchdowns this year. 40.
It's the Tampa Bay record, by the way.
You got to almost take that with a grain of salt.
I know, but still, 40 touchdowns is a big deal. I mean,
no, I know it is, but I'm saying
he said it last year.
But I'm saying because of the Tampa Bay quarterbacks.
True, but it was set last year is also my point with James.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true. So listen, it's on. The difficulty, the degree of difficulty is clearly there for all to see. Forget about going 3. Can you go 2? It's a monumental step, and that Brady's going to be ready. That Mahomes is going to be ready. Healthy respect. Both teams incredibly well coached. I think you could maybe make the case that Tampa has a slightly better roster in totality, incorporating running the ball, defense. But I mean, this could be the stuff of legend, and we're lucky to be talking about this, and we're pumped to watch it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.